Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you kindly for stopping by. I'm always grateful. Let me start with a photograph of a night shot of the Museum Exchange, Uhuru Highway, which is the main thoroughfare through Nairobi. And it reminded me of that photograph of the night shot arrowing into immensities. What a wonderful 2 nights it's been with this super moon bathing the night in the silvery glow, and you can see so far it's just spectacular. These are 2 photographs I liked, both from Saharan, super lunar in Lake Saif ul Maluk, Pakistan, and the second one is from the mountains of Canada. It's just perfect, he says. Political reflections. Obama says Trump shouldn't deport child immigrants who are American kids. I couldn't agree with him more. The WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is being questioned in London over rape allegations. Assange had an outsized effect on the US election by draining and demotivating Hillary Clinton's support with his constant drip feed of some seriously borderline behavior, particularly at the Clinton Foundation. Hillary Clinton tweeted on November the 9th to all the little girls watching, "Never doubt that you are valuable and powerful and deserving of every chance and opportunity in the world." I like this photograph, and don't they look younger? Dr. Manmohan Singh with President Obama and Hillary Clinton. The Democrats tweeted on November the 8th, "Let us bend the arc of history toward justice once more." A CNN reporter is telling the Kincannon show, this is a tweet I saw, that Hillary became physically violent towards Robbie Mook and John Podesta around midnight and had to be briefly restrained. And this is the point about how close she was and how Shakespearean it is. An outstanding essay by Pankaj Mishra in Bloomberg View, Why Strong Men Succeed. The election of Donald Trump, whose campaign trafficked in racism and misogyny as the President of the United States, is a calamity. But for those who experienced in 2014 the election of Narendra Modi, proud member of a minority-baiting alt-right organization as India's Prime Minister, the ascent of Trump induces déjà vu. And to those who have witnessed the subsequent radical makeover of India under Modi, the prospect of Trump assuming supreme power brings on acute foreboding. For what is threatened now in the US is not just free trade, liberalism, or a technocratic and professional class of politicians accused of being out of touch with ordinary people. It is democracy itself, the central project of the modern world, in which people come together to form a political community that defines shared laws, ensuring dignity and equal rights for each citizen, irrespective of their ethnicity, race, religion, and gender. Saying here, the Indian experience can be instructive, if not uplifting. Modi's moment came only when economic growth, which had been largely jobless, began to falter, and this is a worldwide problem. Corruption scandals exposed the liberal technocrats as a self-aggrandizing and inept elite, and the political party most identified with them, the Congress Party, was engulfed by a devastating crisis of legitimacy. The stage was then set for Modi to rise, and so he did, eerily anticipating Trump with the accusation that his country was run by a foreigner, the Italian-born Congress leader Sonia Gandhi, and traitorous liberals, overrun by Muslims and immigrants. To complete the analogy with Trump, Modi also boasted about the size of a male body part, his chest, promising to make his country great again. It is now Trump's turn to benefit from this angry disillusionment with oligarchic dynasts his advent astoundingly simultaneous with that of other demagogues, confirmed that the US has re-entered the history of the modern world after its long 20th century exemption from the extensive political chaos that almost all other countries suffered. What happens next depends greatly on how America's democratic institutions respond to Trump. And here India's example is severely discouraging. Hinduize all politics and militarize Hindudom, V.D. Savarkar, the chief ideologue of Hindu supremacism and Modi's hero, once exhorted. This old fantasy of upper caste Hindus is now finally being realized under the leader with a 56-inch wide chest. Clamoring for retributive violence against Kashmiri Muslims in Pakistan, the media is falling like ninepins, as former Finance Minister Chindambaram said last month. So a very interesting comparison, well worth looking into. And I think he's right, but this zeitgeist, as I said previously, is sweeping across the world. Let me post a photograph of the visit of Narendra Modi to Kawasaki Heavy Industries plant in Japan. If you haven't had a chance to look at my piece from the weekend, Here Comes President Trump, do take a look. I'll be very grateful. I thought it was a breathtaking win, especially when you consider that Trump was an insurgent candidate in his Make America Great Again movement, similarly an insurgent movement. I think we're watching a populist wave or zeitgeist. Some characterized it as a white lash, which has now swept the United Kingdom and the US, and as Italy, where Matteo Renzi has called for a referendum, France, where Marine Le Pen is the most popular politician by street, and the Netherlands, all in its crosshairs. To quote Beppe Grillo, the co-founder of Five Star, this is the deflagration of an epoch. It's the apocalypse of this information system, of the TVs, of the big newspapers, of the intellectuals, of the journalists. And this is another point. Traditional media has lost its position of control. It's been upended by the internet, which allowed insurgent politics to broadcast over the top. Returning to President-elect Trump, he deployed linguistic warfare with devastating effect. Crooked Hillary, Lying Ted, Little Marco, low energy Jeb were devastating. I think quantitative easing is now a busted flush. Remember, a vast swathe of the pro-Brexit and pro-Trump camps with the older white folks who have seen their savings evaporate in the world of negative interest rates. This is the point. They want a return on their savings, and Theresa May and Trump get that. The bond markets get it as well. Putin and Trump have discussed ways to normalize US-Russia relations. During the conversation, Putin and Trump not only acknowledged current US-Russia relations as highly unsatisfactory, but also called for joint work to normalize ties towards constructive cooperation on a wide range of issues. And this is another thing I wrote on the weekend. Reaching out to Vladimir Putin indicates a trend change, putting a stop-loss into play with the Syrian rebels or a bunch of ne'er-do-wells and paid mercenaries. Reaching out to Vladimir Putin indicates a trend change in the way the US engages with the rest of the world, and strikes me as an entirely sensible mid-course correction. As Trump has indicated, China is the main adversary, and it's difficult to understand why the US was seeking to send Vladimir into Xi Jinping's ready embrace. To triangulate China, the US needs Russia on its side, not on China's. Therefore, I see Trump playing a Ronald Reagan game. Putin, of course, I called him a geopolitical grandmaster, and you can see why. French election could spark the blow-up trade that brings down the EU. This is eclectica, and as I said, we are watching a populist wave or zeitgeist, which has swept the UK and the US, and has Italy, France, and Netherlands all in its crosshairs now. Currency markets: the euro 107.51, dollar index just below 100. Japanese yen 108.16, Swissy 0.9970, the pound 124.75, the Aussie 0.7550, India rupee 67.705, South Korean 111.6960, the Rial 343.72, that's moved, Egyptian pound bull, that's improved 15.5, and the South African rand 14.2884. As I said over the weekend, higher interest rates are going to propel a big dollar rally from here on, and it's only just getting going, in my view. Dollar index hits 100, highest in almost a year. Dollar yen 108.20, interest rates refer. Now comes the harder part for the Bank of Japan, because the 10-year yield is just about to shoot above 0%, which means they're going to have to print even more money. Euro dollar, have a look at this chart from Aurelia. She's saying it's coming very close to the bottom of the trading range, i.e. implying a bounce. I go back to Paul Virilio, who said wealth is the hidden side of speed, and speed the hidden side of wealth. Gold and silver have plunged to the lowest in 5 months as bond yields keep rising. The mayhem in metals is spreading to silver, which has fallen 10% in 2 sessions. Gold is trading at $12.27 last. Oil prices are at a 3-month low, but they're having a little bit of a bounce this morning. It's a good time to be in mining shares, says Bloomberg Commodities. Copper touched $6,000 a ton, up 20% at one point last week. Important turnaround moment for Zambia. African Eurobond prices have plummeted across the board. Yields are up. Look at this chart from Kenyan Wall Street, and I remember saying there was a window of opportunity for the Republic here, and they didn't take it. Standard Chartered note on Mozambique debt distress is titled Mayday, Mayday. I wrote about Mozambique from boom to bust, a cautionary tale. Have a look at that. Ponyo, who was the Prime Minister under President Kabila, has resigned. As part of the political dialogue, he will be replaced by a Prime Minister from the opposition and national unity government. So, a bit of a move, but still the risk remains that the revolutionary contingent attains its ideal form, not in the place of production, but in the street, where for a moment it stops being a cog in the technical machine and itself becomes a motor, machine of attack, becomes, in other words, the producer of speed. As we look around the world today, we can see a battle for the street, from the streets of Bujumbura to the streets of Baltimore and Kinshasa as well. And I said, this is the point. How many can an incumbent shoot dead? 100, 1,000, 10,000? This is the other point. There is a threshold beyond which the incumbent cannot go. It's particularly one whose popularity is less than 10%. South Africa's Julius Malema tells backers to seize white-owned land, defying court. When we leave here, you will see any beautiful piece of land. You like it, occupy it, it belongs to you. It is the land that was taken from us by white people by force through genocide. Look at this photograph of his arrival at the magistrate court in Bloemfontein. South African all-share back below 50,000, down 1.9% this year. The rand slumped for a 4th day, falling to a 10-week low against the dollar of 14.44. It's improved slightly this morning. I'll put up a 6-month chart of the dollar rand. It's going to weaken further. Egyptian EGX30 up a mind-boggling 52.65%, but that's on the back of a 100% devaluation of the currency. Nigerian all-share down 9.27% this year. The Ghana Stock Exchange down 15.97% this year. South Sudan finds burnt, handcuffed bodies in Equatoria region. This is a deserted location, and they were tied first and shot before the 6 taken to the house for burning. It is really a shocking incident of murder. Civilians in the East African nation are being targeted along ethnic lines. There's a strong risk of genocide if the violence escalates, the UN Special Advisor on Prevention of Genocide, Adama Dieng, said on November the 11th. Have a look at this from KPMG. Africa Good Life Index, my understanding more than GDP is important. Interestingly, not one East African country is in the top 10 in Africa. Businesses cut credit uptake here in Kenya's rate cap uncertainty bites. Credit growth in August was just 5.4%. I'm expecting it to be negative by year end. The Nairobi all-share down 4.34% this year. NSE 20 down 19.11% this year. David Knowles has written a fantastic story about the Lunatic Express, a journey into Kenya on the aptly named Lunatic Express. I used to take this train from Mombasa to Nairobi when I used to come up for my school term. It was a bittersweet journey because I'd be very excited when I got on it in Mombasa, but by the time I got to Nairobi it was much cooler. and I was worrying about the fact I wasn't going to see my parents for months on end. The Lunatic Express. It is 3 a.m. in Nairobi Central Railway Station, and the staff on the night train to Mombasa are beginning to serve dinner. Why this is appropriate is unclear, but the train was due to leave 7 hours ago. The staff seem determined to pretend it is on schedule. So packed into the red leather-lined first-class dining car, its ancient backlight fans hanging idle from the ceiling, a battered photo of Kenya's president, Uhuru Kenyatta, beaming down on us, my travel companion, and I pick at the early breakfast of beef stew, boiled greens and rice. It is all served on plates embossed with the logo of East African Railways and Harbours Corporation, which was wound up in 1977. You've got to read it, it's pretty fantastic. I used to take the train when I used to come from Mombasa to Kenton and Nairobi. It was a bittersweet ride. I would be so excited to be on the train, and then the weather would get colder and I would realize I was far from home, and for a while the smells are very memorable. Take a look at this photograph of the railway crossing at Manyani Gate, Savo, and this other photograph of the Mombasa Nairobi Railway just outside the entrance to Savo East. Once again, thank you for stopping by.